Really warm welcome to you all to this Lunch and Learn session about how to produce video for your business. Let's get started. And when I start doing content related stuff for video, making videos and such like, I'm always a big fan of starting with the end in mind. And you might think, well, what on earth would you do that? I think it's really important to invest time in setting goals for your videos. You need to really understand why you are producing the videos and what you want those videos to achieve. It's all very well wandering off and scooting around, filming things madly and hoping that, if you put enough on YouTube that it'll stick and somehow, you'll get some kind of ROI. But really, it's a little bit more mundane than that, I suppose, in some senses, in the sense that you need to actually invest time before you press record on working out what do you want your video marketing to achieve for you? What's missing in your business? What do you need in your business? Is it that you need more leads? Do you want to increase your conversion rate on web pages or landing pages? Do you want to build a really good and well-qualified email list? Or is it about raising more awareness of your business and your products and services? Or is it about positioning you as a kind of business leader or a thought leader in your niche? There are so many different things that video can achieve for you. I know I'm a bit biased, but it is super flexible as a medium and also incredibly powerful. And that's kind of why I'm so passionate about video and what it can achieve for businesses. You also equally, this is super critical, this one, guys, investing time in profiling your audience really well, like properly deep diving into who they are and how you as a business can help them. You need to understand who you're talking to and, what messages are going to land well with them. And like I say, how you can help them as a business with your products or services. Also, you need to obviously think about the money side of it in terms of allotting a budget. And I say money actually, but actually it's as much money as it is time, to be fair, because obviously video content takes a lot of time to create. It's not just obviously the filming of it, it's all the researching, the production side of it. But you need to, before you start, you need to think about the budgeting of your production, your video production. And what I would also possibly encourage you to do is to take a step back. A lot of people say to me, oh yeah, but video is so expensive. I'd admit it's not a cheap format to use, but rather than looking at it as a cost to business, the whole point here is that you're using video as a marketing tool, and marketing generally should create a net benefit to your business. Otherwise, frankly, why are you doing it? Do you know what I mean? So always look at video as an investment, i.e., I know that you're going to have to invest, varying levels of money and certainly in terms of time too. But it's an investment. It's not a cost. You should be getting an ROI out the back end of it. Otherwise, something in the chain isn't working. A way of kind of understanding and working out the kind of money side of it, the amount of money you can invest into your marketing efforts, is to think about a client lifetime value. Now, I apologize, I really don't want to sort of spend this time with you now teaching you how to suck eggs, but so a lot of you, I'm sure, already know about client lifetime value, and I'm sure you're all across this. But if you're not, and if you haven't heard of it before, it's a really good way of working out how much a client is worth to you and your business. So a client kind of pops into your life. Do they pop in, buy something and go and you never see them again? Or do they come in and I'm sure you're amazing at customer service and, upselling, all of those kind of good things. So those people might then go away, but then come back in a month's time. The point here is to work out an actual monetary value, averaged out, obviously, of a client. How much do they typically spend with you over a period of time? And how long is a client typically with you for? Some businesses, it may be months. Others, it can stretch, into the years. Once you know that, for example, one client that kind of comes in, a new client is worth, maybe hundreds or thousands of pounds to your business, then you've got a really clear idea of how much you can honestly spend on acquiring new clients. Otherwise, without this kind of information, really, you're sort of flying blind. You've got no real idea of how much you can spend on marketing, and how much those new clients are bringing into your business. I mean, you could be in a situation where you're spending an awful lot of money on marketing, and actually your client lifetime value is way less than the money you're spending. Obviously, that isn't a sustainable situation. So that is something you need to avoid. Otherwise, it's going to take your business down. Anyway, I'm prattling on quite a lot, as you may have gathered. Why should you listen to me? What you know? Who am I even? Listen, I've got 20 years experience in UK broadcast TV as a DP, a lighting cameraman and producer. I work on all of your favourite shows, such as X Factor, Strictly, BGT, all sorts of stuff. Also do a load of concert films for really amazing range of artists and stuff, although obviously at the moment, slightly less so. But more importantly, perhaps, I'm a business owner and have been for over 15 years, both having a photography company and also now a production company. The last 3 years, I have really kind of teetered on the edge of the rabbit hole that is digital marketing. And if anyone of you guys, if you're sort of familiar with the world of digital marketing, it's one of those things that you kind of literally disappear down the rabbit hole. I find it really interesting. I appreciate that, maybe I should get out more a bit. But my absolute mission and my passion in life right now is to take my professional expertise and my knowledge and combine it with the amazing platforms and the amazing technology that we have at our fingertips now in terms of digital marketing, combine the two and really create something special and help businesses make the most of video. Because what's happened over the last few years is that technology has made video production, has lowered the barriers to entry, and it's made it a lot easier for people to create content. And obviously then with things like YouTube and Facebook and stuff like that, it makes it very, very easy to share it. So it's very easy to become your own little mini production company. But ultimately it's all about, video is a vehicle. It's all about what video can help you achieve as a business, and that's what I'm passionate about, is helping businesses like you really, really get under the bonnet of video marketing and use it so that it can really help your businesses grow. Anyway, that's enough about me. It's not all about me. Listen, there are 3 approaches to making video. The first one, maybe the sort of most obvious one, is like the DIY approach. Obviously, that will kind of mean less cost monetarily up front, you'd think, but you're going to need more training, obviously, because you may not be that experienced in it, and you're going to require a level of expertise in terms of shooting, editing, production, how to write scripts, all that kind of stuff before you start. If you're interested in creating video that's going to land well with a really targeted audience and actually provide your business with ROI, that's what we're all about here. There's also, like I mentioned before, it's actually quite the time investment side of it. There's a lot of time, that you're going to need to invest in this project if you do it on your own. You need to create, and that's time, obviously, that you're not going to magic from anywhere. It's going to have to come from your existing schedule to research, produce, and upload your video. You're also going to need to also implement tracking systems. Otherwise, you're not going to necessarily know that people were watching video A and then they went across to that landing page, pressed that button, and then bought that product. Do you see what I mean? So it's absolutely critical. It's one thing creating great videos and making them look lovely and having fun making them, but actually, the nuts and bolts of the tracking and making sure that you can see your kind of customer journey all the way through the process, that's when you can really kind of dig down and understand what kind of video is landing well, what video is converting people, if they're sitting on the fence in a sort of funnel or something, and you've got a lovely sort of video that's embedded in a landing page. If you create great quality videos in the right way, for all these different stages in the customer journey, you can do some great things, but it's contingent on you being able to sort of put the tracking details in place when you sort them out. That was a very long waffly answer. I'm really sorry about that. But anyway, number 2 is to employ someone in-house. Obviously, that comes with its additional payroll and recruitment costs and the time required to obviously find the people in the first place. And then also you're probably looking at some additional investment to, upgrade your kit if you haven't got any, and also obviously it depends on the level of training that they come with. But equally, even if they're relatively experienced, I think it is one of those things that it always benefits it's an investment in training is always a good thing, I think, particularly with video. The bonus with this method, though, obviously, if you employ someone in house, is that you have an on-call video department. This kind of scenario might suit a company that is in a really super competitive niche. The more competitive your business niche is, and especially if you're looking at sort of the YouTube side of things, and if you have a glance at YouTube and you look at your kind of competition, if you like, and if there is a lot of noise on YouTube video wise, and even in Google as well to an extent, then that might be an indication that you may well need to be creating a fair old chunk of video content across a really sustained length of time. So this kind of the idea of employing someone in-house, so you have got someone constantly researching, producing and filming content for you all the time, that might be something that might be worth while looking at, definitely. Obviously the third approach is to commission a production company or an agency. Obviously that comes with a more upfront investment, but the counterpoint to that is that you're hopefully, if you choose well and you choose the right people to work with, you should be lumbered with a lot less potential hassle. That's the idea. We're as a production company, my job is never to make your life any more difficult than it already is. You can also then, you have the choice to pick and choose when you run or when you commission projects, which is obviously not like having someone constantly there on a payroll who's a staffer. It's a lot easier to regulate and manage your time input into a particular project if that's an issue. Now, I know for us kind of small business owners, we wear multiple hats and time is always really, really precious. I suppose it's one of those things where you've got to work out what your actual time is worth in a sort of monetary sense. So it may actually be more economic for you to concentrate on running your business rather than getting really, really bogged down in particular individual video projects. And also depending on the arrangement you have with the agency or the production company, you could look at, getting an arrangement where they deal with also the sort of ongoing management side of your content as well. All of that is obviously possible, and really there are no sort of off-the-shelf solutions. And certainly when we're working with clients, it's all about every single job is completely different. Every single client's needs are different because obviously every business is different, right? But let's look at the DIY business approach and what you need. So first off, rather obviously, you're going to need some kit, right? So a basic kit, vlogging wise, we're not talking about doing sort of 21 camera shoot in the O2. This is a basic kit, sort of vlogging kit like we've got here. You're looking at around about £1,000 plus for a decent kit. You're obviously then going to need some sort of nous, a bit of knowledge. You're going to need to be upskilled in the elements of shooting and production to make sure that you're creating really relevant and valuable video that will land well with your target audiences. And that is the way that you then provide some really good ROI for your business. Like I said before, actually, when you come to doing video, yes, I mean, there's obviously a monetary cost to it, but actually it's a time thing as well. And you need to go in, if you're going down the DIY route, which I'd encourage lots of people to do, it may really work well for you. You've just got to go in with your eyes open and realize actually, it can be a little bit of a can of worms, and you can dive in and it will kind of eat up a lot of time. You've got to think about things like video strategy, the topic research, what is being searched for. See, Google and YouTube for that matter, as businesses, people come to Google and YouTube with problems that they want to solve. So as businesses, what we need to do is look at Google and look at YouTube and work out from the search terms, these are real people with real issues that they're trying to solve, in one way or another. They are all our potential customers. So if we create content that exactly answers the questions that they are asking, that they're searching for on YouTube and Google, then guess what? Google and YouTube will love us, and actually that will have a massive SEO benefit in terms of, after a while, certainly with YouTube, if you're creating really relevant, well-researched kind of video on a consistent basis, and that is key, then after a period of time, YouTube, the algorithm will notice that you're posting on a regular basis. And I'm talking over a period of months here, not a couple of weeks. If you're doing it on a regular basis, once a week or twice a week, or whatever the time you can muster and invest in this, then actually what happens is YouTube over time will come to regard you as a trusted source, as a trusted creator, and therefore your rankings will start to raise, which is great because obviously Google own YouTube and the two are very much interlinked. And also Google, obviously in their search results, they have video, right? So, if you've got a really well ranked video on YouTube, chances are it will appear in the carousel in the video, in the Google search results. So business video on a budget. I'm all for people having a go and doing it themselves, because I really understand that actually, if as a small business, you just don't have thousands of pounds to play around with, and you want stuff to work, right? You want to prove that it works, proves that it gets an ROI. My slight caveat to that, I'd obviously encourage you to get cracking. Make sure you do the legwork first in terms of profiling the audience and sorting out your goals. And doing, working out your client lifetime value and things like that. But always think about the quality, because what you're doing, obviously, with video marketing, you're putting a message out there in a certain way. It's got to chime with your brand look and feel, and it's got to sit very comfortably within your existing marketing materials, because what you don't want to do is make it look so different. It might be that you've got beautifully crafted websites and amazing printed materials, and then you've just banged a little 5-minute video out on your phone and it's a little bit ropey. Well, that will really jar in people's eyes, in your potential clients' eyes. That will jar and it will confuse people. And the one thing you really don't want to do is confuse people, because there is a saying, and it's absolutely true: a confused mind never buys. So you'll never necessarily get to hear about these people, but they'll just drift off because it doesn't add up. Your marketing doesn't add up. It's not all continuous, it's not all in the same look and feel. So just be aware of that, and that is not me knocking doing stuff on a phone at all. It's just making sure that you're aware that you're producing quality material that sits well within your existing marketing structure. That's all. So yeah, absolutely. Just be aware of all of that. You can obviously outsource. That's a potential solution for, people that are a bit short of time. Have a look, grab a student, someone just out of uni or college or whatever. They're normally keen as mustard. You don't necessarily need to employ a sort of a long in the tooth person like me at all by any stretch. But I would again say, you will get what you pay for. Obviously, I come with 20 plus years of experience. I've been around the block a few times. It's not my first rodeo, but it may be that with your existing in-house experience, you can sort of you can carry to a degree someone with less experience on the video front, and it won't be an issue, and actually the financial savings worth it. However, if it's your first time making video, then I would have a long, hard think about it. What you don't want to be doing is going to the lowest bidder, if you like, and grabbing someone who's a couple of £100 who used to do weddings or whatever, and then have an absolute nightmare because they don't really understand what they're doing, and they don't understand the why. They don't understand what your business goals are, and the fact that the video they create needs to have a point to it and needs to be getting people to do certain things at certain points, depending on obviously the type of video that you're creating and the reason you're creating it. In terms of outsourcing, Fiverr.com and Upwork.com, both very, very good platforms for finding people to do various things, whether it's, to be frank, you can find obviously editors on there, but equally anything from like designing websites, all of that stuff. It's all very good. Although again, go to those platforms with eyes wide open. you need to make sure that you're going to have enough time to put aside to create crystal clear briefs, right? You just need to be super, super straightforward. You need to yourself know what it is you actually require. Then you need to communicate it in a really, really straightforward way, because what you don't want to be doing is commissioning someone to do something and then them get the completely wrong end of the stick. It takes management, which obviously takes time. So just go use those sites. I use them all the time. They're fantastic. The more you use them, the more you get used to how it all functions and how it works. But if you're kind of new to it all, just be aware that it's going to take time to get yourself kind of familiar with the way it all works and the management process. So let's look at some example budgets for popular video types. Now, it's about this time of the day and it's about this slide, frankly, that people may slightly fall off their chair. So that is not, that's not the reason I've created this slide. It's to give you a rough idea of the sort of budgets that you're sort of talking about if you're getting a decent level of production. This is obviously if you've commissioned a production company or an agency, this is the kind of budget sort of you're looking at. So for a brand video or for company stories, you're looking at around about £4,000 plus. For product explainer video, so that might include some animation, that kind of thing, you're looking at about 3,000. Now, to give you a benchmark, now hopefully you haven't already kind of collapsed off your seat in a fit of horror, but just to give you a steer, right? Two things. Firstly, there's a rule of thumb that it's basically around about £1,000 per minute of finished film. That's in the kind of video / TV broadcast arena. That's what you're talking about once that's obviously the crew cost, the kit costs, location costs, that's the post-production, pre-production, everything involved. And there's a lot involved, obviously, in a video production. These, by the way, are not hard and fast costs, by the way. You can always obviously get people to do it cheaper. The other thing as well, the other way of looking at it, and this is what we would rather do, I suppose, in some senses, is, be a little bit cleverer on the shoot day. So don't just shoot one video on one day. If you are really super planned about it and a bit strategic, you can create a lot of assets in one day. That is what we would always suggest you do. It's called batch recording. It's fantastic. And I'm really sorry, but I don't have time to go into great detail about it here. But anyway, so the broadcast ads, look at that. So you'd be looking at from around about 10,000 plus, right? And that will be for sort of a broadcast type ad. You'd be easily looking at sort of 250 grand upwards. The Super Bowl ads, I mean, you're talking millions of pounds. So, when you look at those and then you look at the kind of smaller like budgets of these other things, it just puts it all into context. But like I said before, you do get what you pay for, and there are always ways of maximizing the value of the assets that you're creating, and that's what we would always suggest you do. So in terms of a basic shoot, well, what does that look like? Well, it would be someone coming in at the lower end of those price points. What you're kind of sacrificing in some senses, you're not going to have lots of crew. You'll have one camera, probably one crew member, maybe minimal lighting or no lighting at all. Because obviously, kit costs and hire costs, they'll all have to be added to the bottom line. There'll probably be really short shoot days, and you may be kind of quite restricted as what you can create in the edit. There'll also won't be a huge amount of pre-production or development or script development in, if you're going for someone who's not going to charge very much money, because simply, video, it takes a lot of time and a lot of skill to make great video. I know you've got to take it with a pinch of salt. I appreciate that I'm biased. But what I would say in the takeout here really about all of this cost thing is just, if you're thinking about going down the commissioning route, just think about how much help you think you need. If you've got in-house expertise already in terms of social media marketing and all of that thing, well, obviously you're not going to need as much hand-holding probably throughout the entire kind of production process. However, if you're more like a one-man band or a much smaller business, and you've got no experience in terms of making video, then actually you know, you may really benefit from a bit more of a full-on service in the sense of, you know, being taken right the way through the whole production process, you know, being walked through script development, ideas development, and all of that kind of thing. And even, you know, if you wanted a video strategy being developed, you know, certainly we would be able to help you with that. And, you know, we're not the only ones. There'll be other people, I'm sure, that will be able to take you and guide you through that process. But yeah, just think about what the kind of level of service you're likely to need, and then let that guide your kind of decision process. That would be my advice. So let's look at pre-production. It's all about your audience. You need to understand where they live, and this is the whole point, right, of doing customer avatars, and like I was saying, you know, really getting under the bonnet of who your audience is. Where do they live online? You know, which platforms do they frequent? What sort of news channels? Which channels do they, are there forums that they're on? All of this thing, how basically are you going to reach them? And that then determines, and this is why you need to do it way before you press record, because it will determine the platform that you're targeting, will determine the ratio, i.e., you know, is it a 16:9 like TV styly, or is it 9:16? Is it portrait, or is it square 1:1? Obviously all the platforms have different ratios. Equally, running times are different depending on the platform as well. Facebook, they suggest 30 seconds to 2 minutes. LinkedIn, 30 seconds to 3 minutes. Now, again, this isn't hard and fast. These are just guidelines. And actually, the bottom line, I think, as a creator, as a video creator, is that you should take as long as it takes to tell the story well. Don't put any fluff in there. No filler whatsoever. You want to introduce your video. This is a real general rule of thumb, okay? But the general approach I would take is, always up front in your video, tell people what they're going to learn, because people are busy. Don't waste their time then with loads of fluff and filler. Get straight to the meat and bones of it, cut to the chase. Tell them what you need to tell them, and make sure it's actionable as well. Make sure it's super relevant to your particular audience. Stuff that they can really, you know, take and then an action, you know, in some way or other, or something that makes their lives better. At the end of the day, we are all busy people. You've got to grab someone's attention within the first 10 seconds, otherwise they'll be off. So, you know, running time is critical, and that is obviously massively impacted by which platform you're targeting, which then in turn is obviously why you then do all of your strategy work before you start pressing record. Instagram, super quick, 30 seconds. YouTube, 4 minutes. The optimum on YouTube really is sort of 7 to 8 minutes. But if you're running ad campaigns, now obviously that's something for more grown-up channels with bigger sort of followings and all of that thing. But if you're wanting to monetize your YouTube channel, then you might want to run slightly longer form pieces of content, because then you can put a break in the middle of it. But, you know, it's all horses for courses. And really the bottom line has to be, and I'll underline this again, it's all about the value of the content. You know, you shouldn't be going, oh, I need to create something that's 2 minutes long. What you should be thinking is it needs to be really, really super relevant and valuable information. And then, you know, if it's 2.5 minutes, well, that's fine, because people will be engaged and know that it's of value for them. As I said, and this is, I hate to be like a broken record, and apologies if I'm starting to sound like one, but the planning that you do, the pre-shoot planning, has a direct effect on what and how you shoot. If you don't have a plan, it will lead to a lot more heartache and expenditure later on. So really do invest the time. That's, you know, if you take one thing out of this presentation, just please invest the time in doing the legwork that we talked about before. So, right, let's get to the meat and bones of it then, in terms of vlogging setups. I know this is what you want to see. So look, here you are, here's a vlogging setup, and you've got a little red man there, and that little red person is at least a metre away from the wall, and the camera is pointing through a ring light. This is assuming you've just got a wall behind you and no windows, okay? So this is in an office that doesn't have natural light in it. You're going to need to light it, and that's a very, very simple setup. So have a little butchers at that. Yes, on the right hand side there, you can see like there's a little Rode gun mic there that's attached to an SLR camera. Now, I'm not going to get too bogged down in which cameras are great, blah blah blah. But there are acres and acres of blogs you can read about those. There's also an equal amount of people prattling on about what their favorite cameras are. But the key thing is with an SLR here, you've got a great quality optics, a really good quality lens, and then that little clip mic thing that goes on the top there. It's a directional mic. That is fine if you are in a quiet environment. It's very directional, so it's kind of pointing at the person speaking. However, if you went outside with that, you would be then hearing whatever's in front of you. So imagine you've got someone there, and then behind them there is a construction site. You get what I'm saying, okay? The other thing to bear in mind, and so I think sometimes people overlook, is in vlogging terms, you need to make sure that you've got nice steady shot. Otherwise, it gets quite distracting. So always invest in a tripod. Let's have a look at lighting, shall we? Lighting is very important, I think, because you need to, like I said, it comes back to the quality point. You want to imbue your content with quality, ultimately, right? You want to look like you've thought about it, and obviously that comes in the sense of research and making sure you're imparting things of value, but equally just aesthetically, if you light it nicely, and it doesn't have to be a multi-billion-dollar kind of lighting rig like you do on Star Wars. It can just be as simple as a ring light. So what we have here on the right hand side, top right there are two soft boxes. The one in the middle is a ring light, and if you look at the bottom there on the right hand side, you've got a very, very handsome young lad. Ring lights are very, very complementary, and historically were used in fashion photography. And if you look at his eyes, you've got these little two reflections, obviously, of the ring light there. It's super complementary as a light. The watchword here is to keep it simple and to keep it soft. Soft lighting's always better because it doesn't create hard shadows, and then you're chasing your tail trying to eliminate those really unsightly hard shadows. Have a look up here. This is a great little still. So on the left, you've got the kind of look and feel, let's say, of a setup that's been done with a ring light. So, it looks quite flat. It's very nice. The light's kind of going around the sides of her beautiful face. But, when you then start doing 2 or 3 point lighting, which is on the right hand side, you'll notice there's a lot more nuance. There's more shadows in there. But again, I've not got time to teach you how to do, high-end lighting. So for the most part, for most of you at the beginning, let's not run before we can walk. Let's just stick with the ring light, because you'll be getting really flattering lighting out of that. So a ring light setup will set you back probably about £80. But don't forget, this is a thing, this has happened to me. See, it happens to everyone. I ordered some stuff, got very excited, and it turned up, didn't have any stands in it. That is a little bit of a lighting fail. So just make sure that the stands come with them, or buy stands, because you are going to need to attach the lights to something. And like I said just before, soft lighting is best, especially initially. You're not trying to light a drama and do stage lighting or anything like that. Like I say, it's all about the softer shadows, and it's actually a lot easier. And for what we're doing for vlogging purposes, it's absolutely fine. So now let's talk about background and framing. And again, I'm not going to go into too much detail, just to kind of give you a real sort of down and dirty kind of quick look at how to frame sort of correctly. Now, if you look at this lovely gentleman here, there are the grid lines on it. Those are what's known as the rule of thirds, and it's a way of framing that just looks pleasing to the eye. I've not got time, unfortunately, to talk about the history of it. There is a real actual history about why that looks right, but just for the moment, I'm afraid you're just going to have to accept that what I'm telling you is the truth. But basically, the ideal kind of framing for a vloggy type thing is you can see his eyes are on the top third of the frame. There's not a lot of headroom, which is a good thing, because what you don't want is that where you're kind of thinking, well, when's the plane going to fly across? There's no need. And obviously now in the these times where lots more zooms are being done, I've lost count of the amount of nostrils I've seen, and also people where they're pointing their camera towards a really bright outdoor window and sat in front of the window, and they look like they're off crime watch, because obviously the camera is exposing for outside, not inside, and so they look like they've done something very naughty. That's not a good look either. Again, it kind of feeds back into the whole quality thing, yeah? And again, look, just be aware of what's behind you. We've all seen those YouTube clips or whatever floating around social media where, people have written rude things or have arranged books in a naughty way, all of that. Just be conscious of what's behind you, and wherever you can, make sure there's separation between you and the wall behind. It avoids shadows. It just, what you're trying to do is to establish in the viewer's mind instantly, the story's here, it's not behind me. And sometimes with particularly those kind of issues on the right hand side there, I'm trying to read what his books are and what's going on with the Allbran and why would he have Allbran in that office. Anyway, answers on a postcard, please. Let's talk about a basic vlogging lighting setup. If you don't have any lights, so you don't necessarily need to rush out and buy lights, you can just use daylight. And actually, if you're taking baby steps, I would suggest you do this first and then look at the lighting side of it kind of later on. So all you need to do is basically, that is a window there, that square thing. And you can see the lovely green sunshine beating its way through the window. Just face yourself towards the lighting source. And again, make sure that you've got separation between you and the background. The background needs to be darker than you are, basically. And that comes back to what I've just said about, you're the story. That's what you want the attention focused on. You don't want people being distracted by what's in the background. Also, going back to the background thing as well, just be aware of things like plants sticking out of people's heads or very hard lines and stuff like that. Just a little bit of consideration will go a massively long way in your framing. It just raises the production level a little bit where it needs to be. This is critical, and it always slightly brings a tear to my eye, because as a cameraman, as a director of photography, to actually sit here and have to admit to you guys that actually sound is more important certainly in vlogging terms than cameras and pretty pictures. It absolutely kills me every time. So yeah, absolutely. Look, just invest properly and think about the sound. It's so important. Never compromise on sound. You can get away with wobbly pictures or slightly ropey pictures, but you cannot get away with ropey sound. Ropey sound is one surefire way of making sure your audience disappear within seconds and never come back. So just be aware of it and invest money in decent mics. A little tie mic or a lavalier mic, one of those little things that you often see, reporters wearing or news readers or whatever. You can get those from around about £40. The thing on the top left there is a fantastic little Bluetooth mic. If you're doing stuff on your phone, I would seriously suggest you look at one of those. They attach, as I say, you'll attach them to your shirt or whatever, so they become like a little personal mic. They're very good at attenuating noise. They're noise attenuating directional microphones. They obviously connect to your phone by Bluetooth, so you don't have wires trailing everywhere. They're an absolutely brilliant first kind of intro into without having the expense of buying proper kind of receiver packs and all the rest of it, which you're talking hundreds and hundreds of quid then. A boom arm setup like this, if you're doing sort of podcasty stuff or if you're always going to be in the same position, these microphones are fantastic. This setup will be about 250 quid. And then on the right hand side there, you can see a lovely desk mounted podcasting mic. That one's a Blue Yeti. They're absolutely amazing. They're about 100 quid. But again, the sound quality that you'll be getting from those is absolutely fantastic. So next steps then, where do you go from here? So what we've talked about setting goals. You need to think about what you want your videos to achieve for your business, lead generation, profile raising, etc., etc. You need to really zero in on your audience. What are you saying and who are you saying it to? And also, allot a realistic budget. Make sure you've got enough resources to do what you need to do in terms of content creation. And also view it as an investment. You're investing at the end of the day. It should not be a cost. If it's costing you money, it's not going well, and you need to look at under the bonnet as to what's going wrong. And finally, start the creative process with the end in mind. Once you've done all of that legwork, you then keep it at the front of your mind right throughout the whole production process. And that will really give you the leg up that you need to make sure that you're absolutely on point, delivering the right message to the right people at the right time. In terms of next time, well, we can talk about, there's so much to talk about, right? You can talk about which types of video to produce to meet defined video goals. I could introduce you to the wonderful world of post-production. Also, there's a whole discussion to be had about implementation and which platform's right for your content. Equally, like I've sort of touched on earlier, the use of video throughout the customer journey, throughout your sales process, there's so much that can be done there. I'd love to talk to you more about that and go into a bit more detail. And equally, things like setting up YouTube channels, there's so much discussion to be had about that too. Well, listen, I've not run out of time. I'm really sorry. Thanks for sticking with me. I really, really appreciate you spending the time with me. There's loads more help. That bit.ly link there, that's our YouTube channel. So that's bit.ly/business-growth-with-video. I appreciate it's not the snappiest title in the world. I must make a note to sort that out. There you'll find over 50 videos now, which are all about empowering businesses like yours to make the most out of video and video marketing. 2 websites there. The first one's a relatively sensible one, mpvideoproduction.co.uk. Have a check out of that. And if you want a little bit of showbiz shenanigans in your life, then feel free to check out jesmason.com, which is my kind of broadcast professional facing stuff, but you get an idea of where my professional heritage lies. Thank you so much for investing your time with me. Feel free to obviously share, like and subscribe to this channel. Really appreciate your support. I'd love to know what you thought of this video. I really hope you got value out of it. Pop any thoughts in the comments below. In the meantime, get creating. Thanks for watching and we'll see you soon. Take care.